What we know about the accident at this point is that there were no survivors. It's now a recovery operation. That's the sad part about all of this, and that's the part that really hits us hard right here.
Majority of us have flown or we fly, and it's just the finality and the crazy of just how you can be here 1 minute and gone the next.
Tonight, I'm able to secure the actual audio from the incident over the Potomac last night. Let's listen in together.
79, contact Stone Park today. Okay. American 3130 for the final.
You're going to see a back and forth now between Reagan Tower and the various aircraft that they have lined up on approach into the airport. This happened at about 8:46 p.m. Last evening, and you can see there's several airplanes lined up. That's typical coming in about that time of night at Reagan. They're talking to American Airlines 3130, which I think is number 2 for the runway. They're telling them to slow down to their final approach speed because they're separating everybody on the way in. It's going to turn out that American 3130 is a key player in what happens here.
Well, American 3130. Pat 25, traffic just off the Wilson Bridge to CRJ.
Pat 25 is the helicopter that ran into the CRJ 700. It was a PSA flight. The flight number is 5342. It would go under the call sign Blue Streak 5342. You don't ever hear them talking to tower. They've already been cleared to land on runway 33. So they would come in on an approach on runway 1, and then they would kind of circle the land on runway 33. It's a little shorter runway, but they take some of the regional jets and they put them on that runway. Pat 25 is the Blackhawk helicopter that is just south of the Woodrow Bridge, and they've just taken off. They're airborne. The tower is saying to them, there's traffic. It's a CRJ. It's at 1,200 feet, lined up for runway 33. Do you have that traffic? Pat 25 is going to call back and say yes.
1,200 feet, start runway 33.
Pat 25 says, has the traffic in sight, request visual separation. What that means is that they're going to take responsibility for visual separation from that aircraft. What happened? Here's what I think happened. This is not the final word on it, but what I think happened was it was at night. There's several airplanes lined up. There is that Blue Streak 5342, which is the CRJ that they ran into. Right behind them, just a few miles, is American 3130. Everybody has their lights on as they're coming in. I believe the helicopter looked at the American 3130 and said, I've got the traffic in sight, and they never saw the airplane, the CRJ that was right next to them. That's my conjecture on what happens.
Visual separation. Separation proof. American 1630 tower, runway 1 lock void, traffic throughout runway 33, dispatch 16 off funnel.
So this is typical stuff that's going on in a busy airport. They're lining somebody up to take off. They're saying, pay attention. I'm going to give you an immediate takeoff here. I've got traffic lining up for runway 33. That's the CRJ that got ran into. And he's on a 6-mile final. It might be somebody even behind him, but they're lining everybody up to take off and to land.
Runway 1. Please see 5307. Keep rolling out to November, South 47 today.
You can see at the bottom of your screen there, the CRJ, the Blue Streak 5342. They're beginning to now kind of come out a little bit to line up the runway to land on runway 33. They're not going to go right straight down the river. They got to come out a little bit wider and come in. But remember, Pat 25, which is up here, the helicopter at the middle of your screen, they've already said we accept responsibility for visual separation.
American 1631 star 32014, Duck 25, traffic 2 mile update from runway 33, no delay, runway 15 for B.
Clears American to take off.
Number 1, clear for takeoff, American 1630.
Here it comes. Now the tower is seeing what's happening, and they're saying, do you have the CRJ in sight? Because you guys are getting kind of close. And the Pat 25, the helicopter, says once again, yeah, and I'm asking for visual separation. Okay, the responsibility is on you then.
Pat 25, Pat 5 is CRJ.
Pat 5 has an aircraft in sight, request visual separation.
Okay, so Pat 25 says, has the aircraft in sight, request visual separation. I don't think they had these guys in sight. I think they had the airplane behind them in sight. That's why this is such a tragedy.
American 4782 by Baton, now for visual.
American 472, Watchtower 1 star 32017.
So you hear somebody in the tower go, oh, and they see what just happened. As you can see in your screen here, the collision took place. The tower has seen it happen in real time. They're human beings. They're reacting just like you and I would. The helicopter ran into the CRJ. The CRJ's airspace was their airspace. In front of them, behind them, on both sides of them, it was a responsibility of the helicopter to maintain visual separation. They even told him a couple times, do you got him in sight? Do you got him in sight? He said, yep, got him in sight. I'm accepting responsibility for the separation. And I think just like when you're driving in a car and you look and you see a car behind the one that almost hit you, you see that car and you didn't see the one right here. And when you turn out in front, sometimes there's a collision. It's really tragic when this happens in an airplane. Again, it's been decades since there's been a mid-air collision in this country. This is such an unusual circumstance to take place. It's such a tragedy. It's been 12 years since there's been a fatality in a commercial airliner here in the United States. That's unprecedented. And that wasn't a mid-air collision. That was just an accident. This is a mid-air collision, and this hasn't happened in forever. So now we know what's going on here. Pat 25, the helicopter, accepted responsibility for visual separation. They probably had their eyes on the airplane behind them, and then they tragically ran into these guys.
Did you see that? 472. American 3130, go around turn left end 250, climb maintain 3000.
So now what happens from the tower's perspective is they have to work through denial pretty fast. They just saw this happen in real time in front of them. They're human beings like the rest of us. They're kind of in shock, but they've still got airplanes coming in. They've got American Airlines 1630, which just took off. They've got to hand them off to departure. They got American 3130 that's coming in. They got American 472 behind them. They got to do something with these airplanes. Right? The airplane port is going to be shut here in a second. So they're going to start telling all these guys to go around while they're trying to handle the emergency and get the emergency equipment out. And all of that is, everybody's kind of in a little fog for a few seconds here while all of this is taking place. The tragedy of it hits you hard, and they're very professional. Watch how they handle this, but man, they're busy.
Okay, left heading 350, 3000, American 3130.
Tower boost streak 5347 is on final. Request runway 33, circle to 33.
Okay, second heading for American 3130. American 3130, go around turn left end 270, climb maintain 3000. 270 on the heading 3000.
See how fast he's talking? He's trying to get all these other airplanes out of here.
Crash. This is alert 3. Crash.
Okay, what's MWAA? It's the Metro Washington Airport Authority. Every airport has some sort of governing authority over it. Many times it's called the Port Authority. Up in Boston, it's Mass Port, right? In New York, it's the Port Authority. Down here in Washington, it's the Metro Washington Airport Authority. They're now announcing officially there's a crash. So they go over the radio and they broadcast to everybody. The tower is the main recipient of this, that there's been a crash. He's going to repeat that. That puts a whole bunch of things into motion all at the same time. The fire crews now are going to jump in their uniforms. They're going to get in their fire trucks. They're going to drive to where the crash is. There's going to be details about this coming, but this whole thing is very frenzied and happens very fast. But these are really highly trained professionals. They do a really terrific job.
Alert 3. Crash. This is alert 3.
And alert 3 is a crash.
Oh, shit. Where's the alert 3? It is off the approach end of runway 33. Approach end of runway 33. Helicopter crash. Helicopter. Copy out this morning. Crash. This is alert 3. 2 helicopters.
Okay, so again, fog of war. The first report that they get is that it's 2 helicopters. They're going to clarify this really quickly because the tower is talking back and forth to them. The tower is going to say, no, it was a CRJ and a helicopter. So they get this, because it's cleared up pretty fast.
Helicopter CRJ approaching runway 33.
That's really fast.
The approach in runway 33, a mile off final. Crash. Yeah. Kilo CRJ, approach in 33. Okay. How many totals on board? We don't have any of that information. Towers reporting a CRJ and a helicopter crash.
So they're passing the information back and forth to the first responders who need it. Everybody's trying to clarify while they're jumping in their trucks and they're heading out there. Now they know exactly where they're going. It's at the approach end of runway 33. It's somewhere in the Potomac. Now they're going to have to coordinate boats and other things. Eventually they're going to get helicopters involved.
Can we go ahead and hold all operations till we have emergency units respond? We're going to go ahead and show the aerodrome closed.
They want to close the airport so they can go.
Yeah, that's affirmative. All operations aerodrome closed.
Everything's closed. Huh?
And everybody just hold your positions, please, on the field right now.
Okay, so this is the ground controller. Now, the ground controller is the one that's going to get all these trucks going where they need to go. But the ground controller needs to stop all the airplanes. So she just makes a blanket broadcast. Everybody stop right where you are. Every once in a while, you kind of half hear that, and then you say, okay, I'm sorry. And there's also people asking to be released from their gate to go. They're not into what's going on yet because they just put their headsets on and they're just getting ready to go. One aircraft's going to ask to do this, and she's just going to say, everybody stop.
South 43, ready for taxi.
Everyone's going to have to hold for down.
No.
I'll get back to you just as soon as I can. Fire command. The accident happened in the river. Both the helicopter and the plane crashed in the river. It's east of the approach end of runway 33.
It's amazing to me how much clarity they have about actually what happened and where it happened. And many times in an accident like this, it takes 5 to 10 minutes just to get everything sorted out. They're very good here at getting it all very concise. And so the response time was phenomenal on this.
Watch this before drinking plant-based milks.
Oat milk latte.
Protein and oats acts almost exactly like gluten. And oats in this kind.
Is the airfield closed?
Yes, the airfield is closed. The airfield is closed.
Runways as well?
Okay, ARF is the aircraft rescue and firefighters. That's the actual fire chief that's in the fire truck. He's asking, is the airport closed and are all the runways closed as well? That way he can expedite getting out there. He doesn't have to stop and ask, can I cross this runway? Can I go on that taxiway? She's about to tell him the whole place is shut down. You go. You own the airport now.
Yes, all runways are closed. Nobody's landing. No one's moving at all.
And we have clearance across all taxiways and runways, correct?
Yes, you have clearance through the whole field, all taxiways and runways.
So basically she's saying to these guys, go. And at that moment, the fire trucks take off.
I tell you, it's pretty interesting. I didn't realize how much went into orchestrating all these aircraft. I remember when 9/11 happened and just a lot of the air traffic that we had, we were a little privy to back then, but pretty amazing. And just listening to these people, I can understand why Donald Trump is wanting to get qualified people in there and not all this DEI crap, because if you listen to what they're talking about, you got to know what you're doing. You're trying to orchestrate multiple planes when they take off, when they land, to avoid a situation like this. You can't have people in there that don't know what the heck they're doing. And then after listening to him and all the other news reports that I've seen, I'm pretty sure he's probably correct on what actually happened the night this plane crashed. My prayers go out to all these families and the people that lost the loved ones. I can't even imagine being at the airport waiting for my wife to arrive from a business trip, and this is the news that I get. It's heartbreaking. So anyway, I thought that was pretty powerful. Kudos to this Captain Steve, who kind of broke it down for most Americans that don't really understand this stuff. And as always, I love you guys, and I will check you on the next one. Later.